It's been 25 years since NASCAR lost one of its most beloved heroes, Neil Bonnett, in one of the practice sessions for the 1994 Daytona 500. Neil was a character off the track, a competitor on the track, and a broadcaster for NASCAR on TNN. Here's that network's tribute to Neil from 1994.
Hello everybody, I'm Mike Joy. At this time each Sunday, Neil Bonnett would come into your living room here on the Nashville Network.
Hello again everybody, I'm Neil Bonnett. You know, there was a legendary stock car racer, the late Bobby Isaacs. He had a favorite saying inscribed on the back of his watch. It said, "Winners never quit and quitters never win."
For the last 2 years, he's talked to winners, joked with them, traded stories with them, and just generally carried on in a manner that made all of us proud to be associated with him. Friday here at Daytona, those stories stopped. And the fun times became bittersweet memories of someone we respected, loved, and admired. Neil was once again trying to get here, to racing's hallowed ground, its victory lane. But Neil Bonnett was doing what he most loved to do, running flat out on one of the nation's fastest super speedways.
One of my fondest memories of Neil is last year when we won the Busch Clash, and Neil was in the victory circle with us at the Busch Clash, and you could see the look in Neil's eye that you knew that Neil was going to drive again, and that's what he was going to do. It's what he wanted to do. And I guess the memory of looking at Neil Bonnett and the look in his eye standing in victory circle at Daytona is probably will stick in my mind forever.
Well, Neil was always a special guy. I think everybody in this garage area was a friend of his, and he took a lot of time with different people, and my dad was one of them. And I remember in Charlotte, Neil had a little 32 Ford, and I had a 31 Chevrolet, and we were talking about the cars at the Speedway, and my dad said, you know, I like the older cars that are stock, and Neil said, well, I've got a 38 Chevrolet, and my dad said, well, you know, I've always kind of wanted one of those cars. And the next day, the car was delivered to Charlotte, and Neil gave it to my dad, and it was a nice automobile. And you know, people don't do things like that unless they have a big heart, and he just cared for so many, and so many cared for him.
He won a race at Richmond, and in the old days you could write and get back home in time to see what the 11 o'clock news had to say. Well, on this particular Sunday night at 11 o'clock, the news announcer was very, very raw, very green, made a lot of mistakes, and he got to the Richmond race, and this is what he said. He said, today in Richmond, the race was won by the famous French race driver Neil Bonnett. I hit the floor when I heard that. I couldn't wait to get to Neil. So I told a couple of buddies of mine, we went in the garage area at the next race and started yelling, Neil Bonnett, Neil Bonnett. And he looked at us like we were crazy. He said, what are you boys talking about? I said, we told him the Richmond story. Your name is now Neil Bonnett. It got to be crazy. Bobby Allison was calling him Neil Bonnett. We had guys paging him from up there, the PA system. Neil Bonnett, please report to the NASCAR trailer. It was hilarious. So he decided that for a while there, he'd call himself Neil Bonnett. When anybody called him Neil, he wouldn't answer.
When you look at Neil, sort of exemplifies what a lot of us in the garage area are all about. Hard-working, family man, talented, could do just about anything, you know. I mean, I've told him a number of times how thrilled I was for him, how proud I was of him to be able to do the show he was doing, to be the host of that show. I never really thought about Neil being a TV star, but he was, and I think that just shows the dedication that he had. Not just he raced and he was a star, he went into television and he was a star.
Equally eloquent in his silence has been Dale Earnhardt. Earnhardt has said, I am not ready to share my feelings with anyone about Neil Bonnett. The safest place for me to be right now is in my race car on that racetrack.
You better move.
I got the idea.
Oh, Hank caught that 11-pounder right here.
Who?
Hank?
Ooh, let me get out there and help, see if I can find it. Put it back in?
Yeah. I mean, you put it in there to start with.
He was a tremendous ambassador for the sport. For my nickel, he was the best analyst in the history of the game.
They're averaging 150 miles an hour around this place now. That's between 165 and 170 miles an hour going in turn one right here. Very tough. It's like slot cars around this racetrack. There's 2 one-mile tracks on the circuit, Rockingham and Dover. This place is 2 seconds faster drivers are going to have to stay on top of the race cars or they're going to be in a lot of trouble.
He spun, he got the car straightened out, and his left rear tire was flat, and this is the leaders coming. He's wanting to beat them back to the line and not go a lap down. Look, he almost pins Ward Burton on the wall. He's trying so hard to get back on that flat tire, he just turned it right around in front of the field.
He was a friend that was a constant support. I was working out in the engine room, and it was like midnight or beyond midnight of the night going up to the first day of practice at Dover, Delaware, which that was a 24-hour run for us from Hueytown, Alabama to the Dover racetrack. And we weren't quite done. And he's back there, I just want to give you a hand, what do you want me to do? And we're turning a few wrenches. And we had the engine on what we call a three-legged engine stand. And he went to move it for me and pulled it over, and it fell on him. And I was sure it broke his leg, and really looked like it hurt him. And he jumped up and apologized for bending my engine up, and stood that engine back up, and wouldn't even allow himself to look to see how bad he was hurt. Now, he was standing back up, so his leg wasn't broken all the way in two. We both could tell that. But he was really hurting, but he would not allow himself even to look down. And we continued on, got that engine finished up, and got the truck sent on.
Watching his hosting the winter show, he had a great knack, I thought, at putting people at ease when he was interviewing them, and could really draw out some interesting comments from his guests. And it was just his demeanor. I think he was just a kind of easygoing, very cool, very friendly, and had a lot of respect for his other drivers, and he respected them.
Oh, time out, guys. Wait just a minute. This is my den, my show. You got my sweaters on and watching my wrecks and getting a chuckle out of it.
Yeah, Neil, wait a minute.
Hey, wait a minute. Oh, don't tell me to wait a minute. This crap's got to stop.
Wait a minute, sit down here.
Whoa, wait a
Sit
minute.
down.
This is mine.
Well, no. Sit down here. Watch this. You ain't believe this one. This is good stuff now. We've been watching this for quite a while.
Yeah, but I heard you laughing down here.
No. This is Daytona. You blew up at the start-finish line.
You ain't
remember?
never wrecked.
And you slid by. You just missed the end of this wall. Watch this. Just missed. Ooh. Was that close? You had control of it, didn't you?
Make that move right there.
That's true. That is.
See, this is good stuff.